Maccabees Sheniy, 2nd Maccabees, chapter 11. Not long after the victory over Timotheus, Lysis, the king's protector and cousin, who also managed the affairs, took sore displeasure of the things that were done. And when he had gathered about 80,000 with all the horsemen, he came against the Yahudim, thinking to make the city a habitation of the other nations, and to make a gain of the temple, as of the other chapels of the heathen, and to set the high priesthood for sale every year, not at all considering the power of Elohim, but puffed up with his 10,000s of footmen, and his thousands of horsemen, and his 80 elephants. So he came to Yahudah, and drew near to Bethsura, which was a strong town, but distant from Jerusalem about 5 stadion, and he laid sore siege unto it. Now when they that were with Yahudah Maccabee heard that he besieged the holds, they and all the people with lamentation and tears besought Yahudah that he would send a good Malach angel to deliver Yasharal. Then Yahudah Maccabee himself first of all took weapons, exhorting the others that they would jeopardize themselves together with him to help their brethren. So they went forth together with a willing mind. And as they were at Jerusalem, there appeared before them on horseback one in white clothing, shaking his armor of gold. Then they praised the merciful Elohim altogether, and took heart, so much so that they were ready not only to fight with men, but with most cruel beasts, and to pierce through walls of iron. Thus they marched forward in their armor, having a helper from Sheniy, heaven. For Yahudah was merciful unto them, and giving a charge upon their enemies like lions, they slew 11,000 footmen and 1,600 horsemen, and put all the other to flight. Many of them also being wounded escaped naked, and Lysis himself fled away shamefully, and so escaped, who, as he was a man of understanding, casting with himself what loss he had, and considering that the Hebrews could not be overcome, because Al Shaddai helped them, he sent unto them, and persuaded them to agree to all reasonable conditions, and promised that he would persuade the king that he needs be a friend unto them. Then Yahudah Maccabee consented to all that Lysis desired, being careful of the common good, and whatsoever Yahudah Maccabee wrote unto Lysis concerning the Yahudim, the king granted it. For there were Sepharim written unto the Yahudim from Lysis to this effect: Lysis unto the people of the Yahudim sends greeting. Yochanan and Avshalom, who were sent from you, delivered me the petition subscribed, and made request for the performance of the contents thereof. Therefore what things soever that were to be reported to the king, I have declared them, and he has granted as much as might be. And if then ye will keep yourselves loyal to the state hereafter, also will I endeavor to be a means of your good. But of the particulars I have given orders both to these and the others that came from me to commune with you. Fare you well. The 108th year, the 24th day of the month, Discorinthius. Now the king's Sefer contained these words: King Antiochus unto his brother Lysis sends greeting. Since our father is translated unto the Elohim, our will is that they that are in our realm live quietly, that everyone may attend upon his own affairs. We understand also that the Yahudim would not consent to our father for to be brought unto the custom of the other nations, but had rather keep their own manner of living, for the which cause they require of us that we should suffer them to live after their own Torah. Wherefore our mind is that this nation shall be in rest, and we have determined to restore them their temple, that they may live according to the customs of their forefathers. You shall do well, therefore, to send unto them, and grant them peace, that when they are certified of our mind, they may be of good comfort, and ever go cheerfully about their own affairs. And the sefer of the king unto the nation of the Yahudim was after this manner. King Antiochus sends greeting unto the council and the rest of the Yahudim. If ye fare well, we have our desire, we are also in good health. Menelaus declared unto us that your desire was to return home and to follow your own business. Wherefore they that will depart shall have safe conduct till the 30th day of Exanthicos with security. And the Yahudim shall use their own kind of meats and Torah as before, and none of their manner of ways shall be molested for things ignorantly done. I have sent also Menelaus, that he may comfort you. Fare ye well. In the 148th year, and the 15th day of the month, Exanthicos, the Romaim also sent unto them a sefer containing these words: Quintus Memmius and Titus Manlius, ambassadors of the Romaim, sent greeting unto the people of the Yahudim. Whatsoever Lysis the king's cousin has granted, therewith we also are well pleased. But touching such things as he judged to be referred to the king, after ye have advised thereof, send one forthwith, that we may declare as it is convenient for you, for we are now going to Antioch. Therefore send some with speed, that we may know what is your mind. Farewell. This 140th year, the 15th day of the month Exanthicos. Chapter 12. When these covenants were made, Lysis went unto the king, and the Yahudim were about their husbandry. But of the governors of several places, Timotheus and Apollonius, the son of Genesus, also Hieronymus and Demophon, and beside them Nicanor, the governor of Cyprus, would not suffer them to be quiet and live in peace. The men of Yapho also did such a wicked deed. They prayed the Yahudim that dwelt among them to go with their women and children into the boats which they had prepared, as though they had meant them no hurt, who accepted of it according to the common decree of the city, as being desirous to live in peace and suspecting nothing. But when they were gone forth into the deep, they drowned no less than 200 of them. When Yahudah heard of this cruelty done unto his countrymen, he commanded those that were with him to make them ready. And calling upon Elohim, the righteous judge, he came against those murderers of his brethren, and burnt the haven by night, and set the boats on fire, and those that fled thither he slew. And when the town was shut up, he went backward, as if he would return to root out all of them of the city of Yapho. But when he heard that the Yaminim were minded to do in like manner unto the Yahudim that dwelt among them, he came upon the Yaminim also by night, and set fire on the haven and the navy, so that the light of the fire was seen at Jerusalem 240 stadion off. Now when they were gone from thence 9 stadion in their journey toward Timotheus, no fewer than 5,000 men on foot and 500 horsemen of the Avraham set upon him, whereupon there was a very sore battle. But Yahudah's side, by the help of Elohim, got the victory, so that the Nomedes of Arav, being overcome, besought Yahudah for peace, promising both to give him cattle and to pleasure him otherwise. Then Yahudah, thinking indeed that they would be profitable in many things, granted them peace, whereupon they shook hands, and so they departed to their tents. Yahudah went also about to make a bridge to a certain strong city, which was fenced about with walls, and inhabited by people of diverse countries, and the name of it was Caspis. But they that were in it put such trust in the strength of the walls and provision of victuals, that they behaved themselves rudely toward them that were with Yahudah, railing and blaspheming, and uttering such words as were not to be spoken. Wherefore Yahudah with his company, calling upon the great Yahudah of the world, who without rams or engines of war did cast down Jericho in the time of Yahushua, gave a fierce assault against the walls, and took the city by the will of Elohim, and made unspeakable slaughters, so much so that a lake 2 stadia broad near adjoining thereunto, being filled full, was seen running with blood. Then departed they from thence 750 stadia, and came to Charaka, unto the Yahudim that are called men of Toviyahu. But as for Timotheus, they found him not in the places, for before he had dispatched anything, he departed from thence, having left a very strong garrison in a certain hold. Howbeit Dosius and Sosipater, who were of Yahudah Maccabees captains, went forth and slew those that Timotheus had left in the fortress, above 10,000 men. And Yahudah Maccabee ranged his army by bands, and set them over the bands, and went against Timotheus, who had about him 120,000 men of foot, and 2,500 horsemen. Now when Timotheus had knowledge of Yahudah's coming, he sent the women and children and the other baggage unto a fortress called Carnion, for the town was hard to besiege, and uneasy to come unto, by reason of the straitness of all the places. But when Yahudah, his first band, came in sight, the enemies being smitten with fear and terror through the appearing of him who sees all things, fled amain, one running into this way, another that way, so as they were often hurt of their own men, and wounded with the points of their own swords. Yahudah also was very earnest in pursuing them, killing those wicked wretches, of whom he slew about 30,000 men. Moreover, Timotheus himself fell into the hands of Dosius and Sosipater, whom he besought with much craft to let him go with his life, because he had many of the Yahudim's parents, and the brethren of some of them, who, if they put him to death, should not be regarded. So when he had assured them with many words that he would restore them without hurt, according to the agreement, they let him go for the saving of their brethren. Then Yahudah Maccabee marched forth to Carnion, and to the temple of Atargotis, and there he slew 25,000 persons. And after he had put to flight and destroyed them, Yahudah removed the host toward Ephron, a strong city wherein Lysis abode, and a great multitude of diverse nations, and the strong young men kept the walls, and defended them mightily, wherein also was a great provision of engines and spears. But when Yahudah and his company had called upon Al-Elyon, who with his power breaks the strength of his enemies, they won the city, and slew 25,000 of them that were within. From thence they departed to Psychothopolis, which lies 600 stadia from Yerushalayim. But when the Yahudim that dwelt therein had testified that the Scythopolitans dealt lovingly with them and entreated them kindly in their time of adversity, they gave them thanks, desiring them to be friendly still unto them. And so they came to Yerushalayim, the feast of the weeks approaching. And after the feast, called Shavuot, they went forth against Georgius, the governor of Edom, who came out with 3,000 men of foot and 400 horsemen. And it happened that in their fighting together with a few of the Yahudim were slain. At which time Dosiv, one of the Bacanor's company, who was on horseback and a strong man, was still upon Georgius, and taking hold of his coat, drew him by force. And when he would have taken that cursed man alive, a horseman of Thracia, coming upon him, smote off his shoulder, so that Georgius fled unto Marissa. Now when they that were with Georgius had fought long and were weary, Yahudah called upon Yahuwah that he would show himself to be their helper and leader of the battle. And with that he began in his own language and sung psalms with a loud voice, and rushing unawares upon Georgius' men, he put them to flight. So Yahudah gathered his host and came into the city of Adullam. And when the 7th day came, they purified themselves, as the custom was, and kept the Shabbath in the same place. And upon the day following, as the use had been, Yahudah and his company came to take up the bodies of them that were slain, and to bury them with their kinsmen in their fathers' graves. Now under the coats of every one that was slain, they found things consecrated to the idols of the Yaminim, which is forbidden the Yahudim by the Torah. Then every man saw that this was the cause wherefore they were slain. All men therefore praising Yahuwah, the righteous judge, who had opened the things that were hid, betook themselves unto prayer, and besought him that the sin committed might wholly be put out of remembrance. Besides that, noble Yahudah exhorted the people to guard themselves from sin, for so much as they saw before their eyes the things that came to pass for the sins of those that were slain. And when he had made a gathering throughout the company to the sum of 2,000 drachmas of silver, he sent it to Yerushalayim to offer a sin offering, doing therein very well and honestly, in that he was mindful of the resurrection. For if he had not hoped that they that were slain should have risen again, it had been superfluous and vain to pray for the dead. And also in that he perceived that there was great favor laid up for those that died in righteousness. It was a Kodesh, holy and good thought. Whereupon he made a reconciliation for the dead, that they might be delivered from sin. Chapter 13. In the 149th year, it was told Yahudah that Antiochus Ephater was coming with a great power into Yahudah, and with him Lysis his protector and ruler of his affairs, having either of them a Yavani power of footmen, 110,000, and horsemen 5,000, and 300, and elephants 22, and 300 chariots armed with hooks. Menelaus also joined himself with them, and with great dissimulation encouraged Antiochus, not for the safeguard of the country, but because he thought to have been made governor. But the King of Kings moved Antiochus' mind against the wicked wretch, and Lysis informed the king that this man was the cause of all mischief, so that the king commanded to bring him unto Berea, and to put him to death, as the manner is in that place. Now there was in that place a tower of 50 cubits high, full of ashes, and it had a round instrument, which on every side hang down into the ashes. And whosoever was condemned of sacrilege, or had committed any other grievous crime, there did all men thrust him unto death. Such a death it happened that wicked man to die, not having so much as burial in the earth, and that most justly. For inasmuch as he had committed many sins about the altar, whose fire and ashes were Kodesh, he received his death in ashes. Now the king came with a barbarous and haughty mind to do far worse to the Yahudim than had been done in his father's time. Which things when Yahudah perceived, he commanded the multitude to call upon Yahweh day and night, that if ever at any other time he would now also help them, being at the point to be put from their Torah, from their country, and from their Kodesh temple, and that he would not suffer the people that had even now been but a little refreshed to be in subjection to the blasphemous nations. So when they had all done this together, and besought the merciful Yahweh with weeping and fasting, and lying flat upon the ground 3 days long, Yahudah, having exhorted them, commanded they should be in a readiness. And Yahudah, being apart with the elders, determined before the king's host should enter into Yahudah and get the city, to go forth and try the matter and fight by the help of Yahweh. So when he had committed all to the Creator of the world, and exhorted his soldiers to fight manfully, even unto death, for the Torah, the temple, the city, the country, and the commonwealth, he camped by Modim, and having given the watchword to them that were about him, victory is of Allahayim. With the most valiant and choice young men, he went into the king's tent by night, and slew in the camp about 4,000 men, and the chiefest of the elephants, with all that were upon him. And at last they filled the camp with fear and tumult, and departed with good success. This was done in the break of the day, because the protection of Yahweh did help them. Now when the king had taken a taste of the manliness of the Yahudim, he went about to take the holds by policy, and marched toward Betsura, which was a stronghold of the Yahudim. But he was put to flight, failed, and loss of his men. For Yahudah had conveyed unto them that were in it such things as were necessary. But Rodokos, who was in the Yahudim's host, disclosed the secrets to the enemies. Therefore he was sought out, and when they had gotten him, they put him in prison. The king treated with them in Betsura the second time, gave his hand, took theirs, departed, fought with Yahudah, was overcome, heard that Philip, who was left over the affairs in Antioch, was desperately bent, confounded, entreated the Yahudim, submitted himself, and swore to all equal conditions, agreed with them, and offered sacrifice, honored the temple, and dealt kindly with the place, and accepted well of Yahudah Maccabees, made him principal governor from Akko unto Gerar, came to Akko. The people there were grieved for the covenants, for they stormed, because they would make their covenants void. Lysis went up to the judgment seat, said as much as could be in defense of the cause, persuaded, pacified, made them well affected, returned to Antioch. Thus it went, touching the king's coming and departing.